damage. That could be a legal situation there. Doesn't care.
Yeah, but we got two trees down right in the pavilion area in front of the building.
Right. Oh, I guess. Oh, yeah, Eric sent a little movie of the damn trees to me. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Wow, those are big. Yeah. Wow. Didn't work.
Yeah, they just planted those like 2 months ago. Just did a whole new like landscaping in the like.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, that's probably why they didn't really test too well. Now they have yellow crime scene tape all around the trees. They do. That's right. Be careful. The tree's already fallen. It's not going to hit you, but just don't walk into it while it's on the ground. I guess that's what that means. All right, we got more coming up. Oh, guess who's back in the news? We have an update on former Mayor Yoga Pants, disgraced former Mayor Yoga Pants, and his India ambassador nomination. And then, this is not earth-shattering news because a lot of government agencies have been looking at the origins of COVID, but there's one that issued a report over the weekend saying that, at least according to their research, it was probably a lab leak. And this set off a firestorm, as you might expect, in the whole community of this kind of research. Talking about all this stuff coming up, Johnny 10 KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app. And Deborah Mark's up today. And we have Jason Middleton. You're facing away from the camera. You got to look straight at me back here. Okay, you're behind the microphone. And all right, there you go. He's got the news. Economists are split on where the U.S. economy is heading this year. Inflation is falling, but remains stubbornly high, and the job market is still hot, and the Fed is still scratching its head. Twitter and Tesla CEO Elon Musk is defending Dilbert comic strip creator Scott Adams after Adams recommended on YouTube that white people get away from black people. The jury in the Alex Murdaugh double murder trial in South Carolina is going to get a look at the scene of the crime tomorrow. Closing arguments are set for Wednesday. Southern California weather from KFI, light and scattered rain today, light rain overnight, light rain tomorrow, a little bit less of it. Highs today in the mid-50s and for tomorrow as well. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center. Let's go places. Let's head back to Woodland Hills.
We got a tough crash here on the 101 southbound right at DeSoto Avenue. Jackknife, Big Rig, the two right lanes are blocked because of it. You're stopped coming away from Mulholland Drive. In South LA, on the 110 southbound after Manchester Avenue, good news, they cleared that crash from the middle lane over to the right shoulder. Still slow, though, from Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. In Stillmar, the southbound 5 truck connector is still closed from an earlier incident. And in South El Monte on the 60 west to the 605 transition, they cleared that wreck to the right shoulder, and they're going to be reopening that transition near 60 west has delayed from 7th Street. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jenny Harnack. This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. Want to be 100% certain about your taxes? Jackson Hewitt, that's your returns for life. Switch today and get 50% off tax prep. 50% off is a limited time offer for new clients buying at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Best-selling author David Get yours today by calling 800-803-2696 or visit lightsourcewater.com. Lightsource, taste and feel the difference. There's nothing illogical about passing a law that says 14-year-olds can't have an open carry weapon. And I want to know how far down that goes. 10-year-olds? 8-year-olds? They'll handle. Once it's too heavy for you to carry, I say you shouldn't be allowed to carry it. Well put. Live 6 to 9 a.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. The John and Kim Show. John Cobell, Kim Shampo's KFI, AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. All right, coming up after 1:30, we will go through the report that popped out over the weekend that the U.S. Department of Energy, and of course, the first time I saw that, I said, why would the U.S. Department of Energy be involved in the origins of COVID-19? Well, they oversee the laboratories. They do. That's a big part of the story. And some of the laboratories investigate bioweapons research. Yes, that's going on. So they issued a report. I love this. They issued a report with like low confidence that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab. So there's other agencies that investigated this, but they are agreeing with the FBI. That was their conclusion. We'll get into this and give you all the details after the news at 1:30. We have a press release that came out on Friday from U.S. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. Rubio places committee hold on 7 Joe Biden nominees. And guess who is at the top of the 7? Eric Garcetti, nominated to serve as U.S. Ambassador to India, whose nomination Rubio has previously voted against. He's with the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. Garcetti does not take a hint. No, of course. Statement says one of these nominees has ignored credible sexual assault accusations in his prior office. It's Garcetti. That's Garcetti's. How does anybody refute this? Other than Garcetti's denial of reality. It's exactly what he did. Now this is the Democrat. One of the Democrats' had issues has been sexual harassment in the workplace, right? Definitely, especially since Me Too. Right. But and again, Garcetti's the one that set up a special hotline number for people to report it. That's right. And so during the Me Too era, the targets were Harvey Weinstein on down, and you saw big names all over the place get their careers destroyed. You know, from the and you know, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was straight or gay or what. Like you saw Kevin Spacey, you saw Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, Weinstein. There's some other lesser known but still very major, powerful Hollywood figures. And so why should Garcetti be any different? No, and as usual, they like to say, well, it's not just the harassment, but anybody that covers this up, anybody in a higher position who refuse to deal with the complaints that were right in front of their face should be punished. Silence is violence. Right. That's their phrase. And anybody that knows anything about politics knows what happened next. Several, and actually many, loyalists to Garcetti just shut up and refused to cooperate with what was reality, that Rick Jacobs, his former top aide, was harassing all sorts of employees all over the place in that office. And just a few brave people went outside the circle and called it like it was. And that's why these senators in Washington, D.C., so far they're mostly Republicans. There's a couple of Democrats who say, you know, there's probably truth to this because it's hard to get people to bust out of that circle of trust where we're headed for big things with Garcetti. Don't rock the boat. Talk about what really happened. Yeah, there's 4 Democratic senators who will not commit to voting for Garcetti, including the 2 Arizona senators, Mark Kelly, the former astronaut, and Kristen Sinema, although she has switched to independent status, which is basically. Yeah, there was a Hawaii senator, too, that had her down so far without the nomination. The list are not. I think Kristen Gillibrand in New York. She was also withholding her vote, and I've seen a couple other names listed. He can't get the 51 votes he needs. So what does it mean if Rubio puts a hold on it? Does that stay for long, or a hold means you can't just use a unanimous voice vote to move his nomination along. Now everybody's got to go on the record and vote committee rules, any member can postpone a vote on a nominee until the next committee meeting. That means the vote on Garcetti will not take place tomorrow. So, I don't know when the next meeting is, but it could be a week later or a month. The Senate has an endless number of ways to tie up a nominee or tie up legislation. It is the most difficult, constipated governing body you'll ever see. And one of them is that a single senator can put a hold, and not only that, but all the senators have to have that privilege. So unless it's really abusive and egregious, senators from another party aren't going to probably do anything to Ruby because they want their shot to do it to a Republican nominee down the road. Right. So it's like, oh, okay, you don't like Garcetti? Oh, that's too bad. Boy, yeah, we really like him. But hey, whatever. They just go along with it. Yeah. And you know what the price is? At the very least, Rubio wants Garcetti to show up in front of the committee and just totally debase himself and admit to everything he saw. And then explain why, if the first time around, only one member of the committee, a Democratic senator from New Hampshire, Gene Shaheen, did ask him about the sexual harassment allegations. If ever close, he was soft. The president's nominees, especially for low-level positions, because it's just a formality, so everybody rubber stamps and goes along. And unless there's something egregious, nobody wants to make waves. Again, partly it's because they got other things to do, partly because when their president is in and making nominations, they don't want the Democrats to pull the same routine. But this Garcetti thing really stands out. And one of the reasons is you had his communications director, a woman named a Democrat, come out and was very public about what was going on in the office and how much Garcetti stuff is taking to do. That made all the difference. As the nomination got through the first committee, but before it got to the Senate floor, he signed up with that whistleblower organization, and they made a lot of noise about this, which made its way to a Republican senator's office, Chuck Grassley, and then he opened an investigation into the accusations, and they concluded that Garcetti knew or should have known. Hope about was taken to the So that was key to keep forward, and that whistleblower go on. There's layers to this. First of all, a lot of positive stuff went on that Garcetti knew about and didn't stop. Secondly, you have Democrats uncomfortable with this, and a Democratic communications director who was doing a lot of the whistleblowing. And thirdly, if what Danny Suleiman says is true, and all the other witnesses, then you have Garcetti lying for the Senate panel. And he committed perjury. Now, that's what these senators have to deal with. They have to deal with accusing a guy that they know lied to them in the committee. Now, how do you deal with that? He was also under oath in the lawsuit. Remember the lawsuit for that? So the police officer that was his bodyguard? Yeah, he was also under oath. And he took a deposition and he denied also. So he's lied several times in these legal situations. Not just talking to the media. And they don't know what else is coming. They don't know if there are other witnesses that have even other stories. They don't know if there's other victims involving other members of the staff. There's a lot of crap that is going on in Garcetti's office. And we have a deputy mayor on trial for corruption. It's going on right now. So, I mean, nothing so far. It was a dirty, filthy place in many different ways. Now, the end of the Times update on this says that the former mayor has told people he has a plan to take Ukraine, although it's unclear why he would head to that country. Garcetti spoke to the kind of comment on this issue. I mean, why would he, just because everyone else is going, is he volunteer? Or at least if he wants that embassy with this news? I don't know. Why would you go to Ukraine? What are you going to do there? Just get in the news. I have no idea what he did. What an ego bag. What a colossal ego bag. Where can I go to get noticed? Oh, I know. I'll exploit all the suffering of millions of Ukrainians who are getting bombed to death by the Russians. I'll go there. And do what? I don't remember anybody asking for you to come. All right, an update came out from the U.S. Department of Energy about COVID-19's origins. And they believe, more likely than not, it did come from a lab leak. We'll update you, John and 10 KFI, AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. And get marks up today. We got Jason Milton live in the 24-hour KFI newsroom. Water officials say all the recent rain in Southern California will help stockpile water for future use.
That's exactly what happened this last period, this most current dry spell that we've had. We had a really healthy storage that helped us get through the last 2 years.
Dmitry Polizov is with the Metropolitan Water District and says because of the storms up north and here in the southern basin, the prognosis is good for this year, though the actual amount of water allocated will be up to the state. Polizov says it takes 4 million acre-feet of water per year to serve 19 million customers. News is brought to you by the Cunning Dental Implant Center. A man in Montclair has been shot and killed. The police say the man was found this morning on Oak Boulevard with at least 1 gunshot wound to his lower abdomen. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. The Montclair Police Department is asking anyone with information to come forward. Weezer, a band with Mad Riz, will play at High Point Amphitheater in Irvine on September 2nd. Spoon and White Reaper also on that day. And the hits just keep on coming with Wu-Tang Clan and Nas playing Yamava Theater in Highland. That's on October 22nd. Tickets for both of these shows goes public Friday. Some California weather for KFI. Light rain today, off and on for LA and OC. Highs in the mid-50s. The off and on light rain does continue overnight and into tomorrow. Tonight, lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a little less rain than usual. Highs, well, what we used to at least. Highs in the mid-50s. Tuesday is basically second Monday. Now let's check in with Judy Harper because she has a check on water logs at Wilmar and the 5.
That's right, at 5 northbound, right at San Fernando Road, the 2 left lanes are flooded out. On the southbound 5, the truck connector still closed from an earlier incident. Woodland Hills on the 101 south side of DeSoto Avenue, still got that jackknife bridge blocking the 2 right lanes. In Glendale, 5 south at Los Feliz, brand new wreck in the Center Divider area. You're going to be on and off the brakes from the 134 down to the 10, and in Diamond Bar, 6 feet eastbound, right at Phillips Ranch Road, brand new accident. Looks like the right lane is blocked and a semi is on fire. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jimmy Harman.
David Horowitz thinks the 2024 election could be America's last. That's his startling conclusion in his new best-selling book. Yeah, his new bestseller is called Final Battle. David Horowitz, he reviews and effort he says is led by far-left Democrats, big media, and a new woke generation looking to forever change U.S. culture within our schools, our churches, even our military. Horowitz explains how attacks on our electoral college, the Supreme Court, the integrity of the electoral system, and other customs undermines the possibility of bipartisan solutions to common problems. Horowitz sees Americans speaking in different and antagonistic political languages, with the 2 parties so polarized that he thinks the American way of life itself is at risk. Horowitz thinks the players working behind the scenes to undermine our enduring institutions. Find Final Battle in bookstores or check out the free offer and save $28. Just call 1-800-NEWSMAX. That's 1-800-NEWSMAX. Or go online, finalbattle611.com. Finalbattle611.com to get your free copy today. Attention accredited investors. Looking to invest in commercial real estate? Invest with First National Realty Partners. Join more than 2,000 accredited investors who collect rent from Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, Kroger, Publix, and many more. Partner with First National Realty Partners and get access to commercial real estate investments reserved for elite private institutions. Get all the benefits of fully passive real estate ownership, like tax write-offs, quarterly cash distributions, limited liability structures, and the potential for upside at exit. Call now to get information on recent and upcoming projects and learn how you can invest in deals that most people will never find. Call 888-301-9010 or go to fnrpradio.com. Start enjoying the benefits that thousands of accredited investors are already earning. Securities are only available to verified accredited investors. Investments are subject to risk, including loss of principal. Cash distributions are not guaranteed. Any representations made about investment stability reflect FNRP's strategy and may or may not be realized. Visit fnrpradio.com. How much do you think your home is worth this year? Do you think it's going to be worth the same next year? If you're thinking about borrowing on your home equity, your odds of getting more out of your home is probably higher now than it will be next year. I certainly believe that. Some experts predict that property values might decline over the next few years, making it more challenging for borrowers to tap into that home equity. If you need $75,000 or more, HMS Capital can help you borrow the money you need with the equity you built. So whether you want to consolidate debt, make home improvements, whatever your situation may be, HMS Capital may have the best solution That's the way to go. All right, coming up after 2 o'clock, we'll talk about the Palestinians. The Palestinians? So people, I know, Palestine in Ohio. Yes. Yeah, East Palestine, Ohio, where, of course, we had that train derailment, toxic chemicals in the air. We are now getting substantial reports of ill health effects from the people that live there. Aaron Brockovich, we mentioned, visited there late last week, not buying the BS that it's all clear as far as the air and water is concerned in that community. We'll bring you the latest in about 30 minutes on that story. We had a report that popped up over the weekend from the U.S. Department of Energy. They concluded that the COVID pandemic most likely arose from a lab leak. This was a classified intelligence report. Yep. They were undecided previously. In an update they gave out in 2021, now they joined the FBI with the belief that it's likely the virus spread through a mishap at a Chinese laboratory. Now, there are 4 other agencies, along with some national intelligence panel, that think it was natural transmission. And then there were 2 other agencies that were undecided. So if you're keeping a scoreboard on this, not that it matters, people are believing what they want to believe on this story. Yeah, except there's also truth, because I have no interest in what wacky people believe in. I heard Dr. Robert Redfield today getting interviewed. Not Redfield, but Redfield. Redfield. He was the director of the CDC at the time of the outbreak. And he ran on publicly early on and said this is likely from that Wuhan lab. And I heard him interviewed today, and he said, I got attacked by my hometown newspaper where I live with my family and my grandchildren on the front page repeatedly calling me a racist. And he said, here is why it's likely that the virus went out of the test tube into human beings and spread. He goes, they were trying to claim that this is like the SARS virus and the MERS virus, which are 2 older viruses that there were outbreaks almost 20 years ago. And he said the missing piece, though, was those were animal-oriented viruses that did jump to humans, but in a very limited way. I think he said MERS affected less than 1,000 people. He said this was different in that it jumped to humans and spread insanely, very quickly. And he said, why? Because in the lab, they trained the virus to gain a function. Right, gain a function. The purpose of the lab was to see if they could enhance the virus and make it spread more easily. Now, you can ask yourself, why would they do that? Well, the darkest reason is you now have a new biological weapon. The story that researchers give is, well, in the future, in case you get a virus that mutates rapidly, we can get ahead of it and have vaccines ready to deal with it. China. And it just reminded me, and I actually heard somebody play the clip today. The guy who got it right was Jon Stewart. He said if you have a coronavirus, Jon Stewart, the comedian, he used to have a TV show on Comedy Central. Right, but he was a guest with Stephen Colbert. Yeah, and he went. Oh, I remember that. Yes. Right, and he said, well, if you have this novel coronavirus, and then in Wuhan you have the Institute of Novel Coronaviruses, gee, where do you think it came from? And he said it would be like being in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and if there was an outbreak of chocolatey goodliness, well, then where would it be coming from? It would be coming from Hershey. How could you not see that? They have never found a single animal with this virus anywhere in China. And 3 of the researchers got really sick in November of 2019. Yeah, I remember that story. They took him to the hospital. So this is not an outrageous theory, but, oh my God, you go through the list of media outlets that called everybody and their brother racist if you suggested that it came out of China. And why this was, I don't know. I don't know why all these left-wing progressives had such an investment in protecting the Chinese Communist Party. Because that's who ran the Wuhan lab. That's who covered up the investigations. That's who largely was financing the research. That's who launched the balloon over our country. That's right. And Dr. Fauci did send funding that zigzagged around and ended up in Wuhan. It did. well, what complicated this was Trump. Because he came out immediately, with the Kung flu. Yeah. And that's just, Trump was always a racist, so all the media jumped on that, and they would never accept any lab leak theory because of what he did to it. And that's really, really wrong, because that's not science. You can have your fanaticism, it's free country, you can have your phobias about Trump, whatever it is, whatever Trump does to your brain, fine. But that's not science, and it's not journalism. Now you're just a bunch of people in the schoolyard calling each other names. You're a bunch of idiots. All right. And that's what really complicated the entire world the last 6 years was Trump. Because, you can talk about the Hunter Biden laptop. It's all these stories they squelched. It's just a conspiracy. It's crazy people, the Russian dossier, and now the lab leak theory. They're all just undermined because if they come anywhere from the Trump camp or anyone that Trump would support on that issue, we have to squelch it. You're either racist or you're just a nutty conspiracy. Interestingly enough, the spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry piped up today on this report, and I have to tell you, her name is Mao Ning. Mao, like Chairman Mao. Anyway, this was not a science-based authoritarian conclusion, and she pointed to the World Health Organization / Chinese study, which revealed that it was more likely from a natural origin. The Chinese, you talk about that not being credible. The Chinese are the primary funder of the World Health Organization. And the World Health Organization was forced to cover up what was happening in China in the early months. It happened in November, the lab leak. We didn't really know about it till January. And in December, the story started popping up about some strange flu in China. I remember they never allowed any investigation early on. They lie constantly. The Chinese Communist Party is right up there with Russia. What they do is they publicly lie about everything, especially things that put them in a bad light. So if they make a pronouncement, you can assume safely that it's probably the opposite. Right. And I don't know if they were embarrassed. It doesn't seem like there's any evidence they did this on purpose, but and certainly it blew back on them pretty hard over the 3 years. Oh, and by the way, that United Nations World Health Organization Chinese report, Beijing appointed half the researchers on the mission, restricted the team's access to critical data, and blocked the World Health Organization attempts to conduct a phase 2 study that would include a review of Wuhan's surroundings. So clearly, just reading that paragraph alone tells you the fix was in, and that's not a credible report. No, and this is perfectly in line with their character. It's like they're still claiming that the balloon was a weather balloon when we have the spy equipment. Yes, it was already announced that we have determined this was spy equipment, and they're still claiming it's a weather balloon. I mean, and they're comical, but this is what we're dealing with. The question is, and Trump may be the entire answer to it. But if it isn't Trump, what was the obsession of so many people in the media and the social media companies to squash, not just squash the information, but try to demonize and smear anybody who offered the opposite theory, who just said, hey, we should check in to see if this was a lab leak and not an animal. And then you were vilified from here to the end of time, viciously. Remember, at the very beginning of this, it was Dr. Fauci and his cohorts who were trying to put the kibosh on the lab leak theory. They lined up a whole bunch of experts to say, oh, not credible, don't go in that direction. That was like in the first year of the outbreak. Now, I was always suspicious of that. I didn't really understand why they were so quick to do that. Because he knew that his money had financed the research. He's a smart guy. Oh, he knew when that came out, the conclusion was that you did this with your annual function research money. And that other doctor, I think his name's Robert Danzak. Yeah. He got the grant from Fauci, his organization. And then Danzak directed the money to Wuhan. And what did Danzak do? If I remember this right, he got dozens and dozens enhancing this particular virus. All right, we got more coming up. John at 10 KFI, AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. And we have Jason Middleton live for our KFI Newsroom. Thanks, guys. The niece of former President Carter says he's still not too tired of him as he sees options. Fans are getting their first the new rule for Major League Baseball by this week. Their bases, their pitch clock in place. Okay, spell check does not seem to be a thing in New York. Tribute road signing, baseball legend Jackie Robinson went public in Queens, but without their C in Jackie's first name. We're going to get a live check on a semi-flyer near Diamond Bar right after this. Hey, if you're looking to sell your phone, you call How Much Advantage. They're going to make you a cash offer. There will be no need for repairs. As a matter of release, they buy it as is. The seller's advantage, there are no agents. They can close in days, and they buy it cash. They'll even do this. They'll offer $10,000 advance to help with moving and other expenses. Check out the reviews online. Call for a no obligation offer. 888-321 as is. 888-321 as is. 888-321-2747. SellersAdvantage.com. DRE number is 0196165. Southern California weather from KFI. Light and scattered rain continues today. It's going to continue overnight. It's continue tomorrow, but it's going to start tapering. Highs today in the mid-50s. Rain repeat for tomorrow. This report is brought to you by Indeed.com. From the Southern California Toyota dealers traffic center with show places, let's head over to Diamond Bar and check on that fire on the 60s.
Coming quickly eastbound right before you get to the 71, it's a big fire over on the right shoulder, and you do have a lot of flowing on that 60 eastbound. Coming away, I'd say almost all the way from the right shoulder to the road. Right now, that's 15 southbound. You are at a car from at least Joshua Street. In Fremont, 5 north of Cantonado Road, the two left lanes are flooded, and on southbound 5, the coast connector is closed from an earlier incident. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm getting on it. If cold candidate calls aren't turning into hot hiring leads, then you need Indeed. Because Indeed's powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all from one place. Find your next great hire visiting Indeed.com/credit.
This report is sponsored by Big O Tires. Did you get your free tire at Big O Tires? That's right. Now through March 26th, buy 3 select tires, get the 4th tire free with paid installation. Wet weather means sloppy roads. So what are you waiting for? Buy 3 tires, get 1 free. Now at your neighborhood Big O Tires. For your nearest store, visit bigotires.com.
I'm Martin Cope, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter. This Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. And that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, my doctor wanted me to do clean rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. They're nice when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll flush it out, and the results are immediate. It's such relief. It's become a lifesaver. Unquote. He's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage. The all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, smaller, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
The Picoftheday doctor's list is also showing password.
Well, you keep saying that.
The Picoftheday
So they had Spanish in 2 of their 3 words, and they decided to go with the old English version of the first cocktail. Now look at details. Seriously going password. Live 4 to 7 p.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeart Radio app. More than John Coba and Penn Campbell KFI and 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. I'll be making good audio with my next hour from old Joe Pfizer. He's doing another one of these network TV interviews that they can hear. You call the younger one, all right? Everyone will bring that. Right. You know, it's been like ages now that you've seen it recently. It doesn't look so boyish anymore. You know, models get old. Anyway, there's a bad inflation report that actually came out a couple of days ago, and Biden's putting the media for the economy. You'll hear this, the clip we will play. In the 2 o'clock hour, we'll begin, though, talking about the people in the vicinity of East Palestine, Ohio, who are coming down now with real illnesses. There was a train owned a railroad a couple of weeks ago, which unleashed some toxic chemicals into the air and the water. And supposedly now, I just read over the weekend, the U.S. is sending a team there to investigate the claims of people's ill health effects. So we'll get into that too in the 2 o'clock hour. Some good news. We were just talking about COVID-19 and the origins of COVID-19. We have the latest update, John, on the flu shot. Did you get this year's flu shot? I did. You did, yes, I did. I took one in each arm. I took the latest. Oh, it's COVID vaccine in one I did. Yeah, I did that too. And then I read a month or two later you could get a stroke from that. Oh, well. Everything comes out months or years later. Like 3 years later, COVID came out of that lab. Well, you were right. The latest vaccine booster, which is the one, what did they call their name for it, right? Yes, it helps you with all the variants. Five-valent, yes. That they didn't really test it because they wanted to get it out there on the market, so they were just going to take a real data from people who got the shot and then release some reports a couple of months later. And the first reports were good. They were encouraging. If the bivalent shot was really good, a couple of months later, like, it's like some people had some strokes and some other problems. Particularly if you're older and you took both shots at the same time, the flu shot and the bivalent shot. Yeah, they only had mouse research when they released it. Yeah, I don't know that I feel like a mouse. That makes me confident. No, and so this is the last shot I take without them doing it. Well, the flu vaccine for this winter is for now almost in March. Get this, 45% effective. Let's give a standing ovation. That's a good number. Yeah, usually around 30% or less. Yeah, it's done. Particularly among children, the flu vaccine seemed to work according to the latest research. And they believe that vaccinated children were 68% less likely to be hospitalized and 48% less likely to visit an emergency department due to a flu or flu-related sickness. Adults overall, 44% less likely and 39% less likely to be hospitalized. So it looks like when you see this, remember the twindemic, what was it, the tridemic? They thought there could be 3 things going on. Yes, because you had the RSV, the RSV infecting children, and the flu. And now the norovirus is making a sweep through the country. Giving people the 24-hour stomach flu. Oh, no, that's the buffet disease, I call it. Yes, that's the hottest thing going. That's the one where you can get it by, with the hands on something. That's right. Then you get the runs and the vomits for a day. And that's why I call it the buffet disease, because everybody's got their hands on the spoons to pull the food into their plates, and then you walk right up behind them and you grab the same spoon. First time I heard about the norovirus, which is really popular on cruise ships because of the buffet. That's it. I've never touched another buffet again. Yeah, it's also because cruise ships, people are just upstairs. And you're inside a lot of the time. You need to go out on the deck, but you're inside a lot of the time. A friend of mine got that just the other day. Norovirus? Norovirus. Wow. All symptoms of norovirus. Oh, no. He vomited and he pooped? Well, I didn't watch. No, but I mean, he gave you the report. Yeah, he gave me the report. Yeah, he checked many boxes. And I told him. I sent him an article. I said, I think it's this. Is he a buffet person? No. Like, you just pick it up wherever you pick it up. It spreads faster at buffets, faster on cruise ships. Right. The 2022-23 flu season actually peaked in November and early December. Positive tests hit 26%. Now we're down to just 2%. So the flu has really tailed off. And I'm not so sure people even know if they have the flu or they have COVID. I mean, they can home test. But honestly, anecdotally, more people I know had something this year. There seems to be a lot of germs going on than I can remember. Yeah, and I think that's because, and it was based on what I'm reading, people have really let it rip. I think the last holdouts about getting together in big groups or doing things that they weren't doing the 2 years previous are doing it this week. You probably already saw trip bookings are off the charts for this summer, especially to Europe. It's very difficult. The flights are very expensive. Everybody wants to go now. They finally away, because you keep doing this, the next big thing that happens, no one's going to believe you. That's right. That's right. Because you cried wolf for so long, and you didn't know, honestly, you didn't know when to stop. That's the thing. Nobody would stop. Everybody was clinging to this state of emergency long after the emergency was over, years after it was over. Right. Yeah. Does Barbara Ferrer still do those updates? Those briefings that Pete Gregory used to go to? I don't know. I still get the emails. I saw there was one like 2 weeks ago that she was going to do like a live, update for LA County. There's nothing worth covering it unless you're into arcane health statistics. I mean, I'm not really interested in the number of people getting sick in LA County. It just came out at 1:50 p.m. Public Health reports 2,129 new positive cases, 34 new deaths due to COVID-19 in LA County since Saturday. Yeah, they still issue these reports. Nobody reads them. They die. But you're the person I've noticed in weeks. You're the first person today to read it. Yeah, somebody signed us up for this email. And so I don't do it for some reason, but I guess if your email circulates, the Johnny K email ends up on all these mailing lists that I don't even know who half these people are. But I guess they just they go off the email addresses. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, they go out of their way to find the email. Yeah, that's an intern job. All right, when we come back, the people of East Palestine, Ohio, who were subject to that train derailment, are starting to report some real ill health effects. The government taking a closer look. Oh, Joe Biden says, the economy, part of the blame here is the media. I haven't heard the clip, but I'm guessing he thinks the media is just too negative about the economy. They're sending the wrong message to people for consumer confidence. That'd be my guess. But we'll see what's in that audio. That'll be right the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, that's what I do. Just be tweet all day.
If you already know what you want us to say,
Best stuff, best ideas ever. Like why soccer's cool. Those popular
Orange County.
Halo Gamer text. Such a Halo Gamer text. I already got mine, but there might be a little up on Blizzard out there. Just shut in, little up on Blizzard. Dibs. I got dibs on little up on Blizzard.
On various charges, which will say deputies uncovered methamphetamine, cocaine, and several weapons.
Yeah, dog, whenever they say that, I just, literally, you could go to this store and just like buy some stuff. It's like basically most Procter & Gamble products. Like if you use Procter & Gamble products and you're driving those home, you got to mess up. You got to
and Hancock Park. Brian Wilbur with the LATWP says most of the outages were caused by the storm over the weekend.
Quite a bit of work in the valley. Sun Valley, Van Nuys, Lake Balboa, Terminal, Woodland Hills.
Wilbur says the department is working quickly and says response times remain between 24 and 48 hours. He suggests grabbing some blankets and says to expect power to be out for a while. Chris Adler, KFI News.
California has been ranked as the worst state for road roughness, with 44% of its roads in poor condition. Monkey analyzed data from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Census Bureau, finding 1 in 10 roads in the U.S. are in poor condition. Now, a report published earlier this month says the drive between hundreds of kids from Orange County have gotten some extra time. Ryan turned in Lady Gaga's stolen bulldogs for a cash reward, suing the singer for not paying up. The woman was arrested and charged in connection with the robbery in 2021 when the dog walker was shot. The woman is among 5 people charged. Her lawyer claims she was defrauded because the reward was offered to whoever returned the dog. No questions asked. The lawyer says the woman has suffered pain, suffering, mental anguish, and loss of enjoyment of life because she did not get the money. Your KFI Financial Report is sponsored by Jacoby and Myers. Right now, Dow Jones Industrial average up 72 points. S&P 500 up 12. NASDAQ also up 72 points.
Don't wait. Maximize your compensation. Call Jacoby and Myers now. Justice for you since 1972.
The average price of a gallon of unleaded in LA County is $4.77 each. Southern California weather for KFI: light and scattered rain today for LA and OC. The weather guys call that intermittent rain. Highs in the mid-50s. The off and on light rain continues overnight. Lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. A little more light rain. Highs in the mid-50s. Mission Viejo right now 52. Garden Grove 56. China 48. Chino 48. Calabasas 47. Now let's get a live traffic update.
thing ain't leaving anytime soon. 101 southbound right at DeSoto Avenue had a jackknife big rig, and the two right lanes are blocked, as well as the DeSoto on-ramp. It is going to be south from Valley Circle Boulevard. Looks like in Glendale, 134 westbound at the 2, got a crash on the connector to the 2 north, and a Lakeview Terrace, 210 westbound at Osborne. Brand new accident in the right lane there. In Stillmar, 5 north on the San Fernando Road, the 2 left lanes are flooded, and on the southbound 5 truck connector to 14 north, that is close from an earlier accident. In Chino, 60 eastbound, right before I get to the 71, got that semi-fire. The right lane is still blocked. It's going to be heavy from the 57. If you're coming down that Tahoe Pass, it is going to take you a while. 15 southbound, you're going to hit the brakes from Main Street in Hysteria all the way down to Kenwood. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jenny Harmon.
Hi, this is Joe. Never been done before. This offer is for KFI friends and family. It's you. You can get this offer only if you're listening to KFI now. Would you like $1,800 off LASIK? Of course you would. Saddleback Eye Center is offering KFI listeners the certificate for up to $1,800 off LASIK with the friends and family certificate.
Really?
I walked into Dr. Mayer's office. My eyesight was 21,000. I left there better than 2020. You know, John came in my office one day and said, "Why do you have 9 pair of glasses on your desk?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Call Dr. Mayer, my doctor." And I did. Now I see beautifully. Anyway, call right now and get your friends and family certificate up to $1,800 off LASIK. We can give away only 10 discount certificates to KFI listeners who schedule a free LASIK exam. We can get out 10 $1,800 LASIK friends and family discount certificates. You must call now, 866-559-4444.
You should be like, literally, you got a mission, dude. All day today. Till tonight.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together. Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number? I mean, nope. Oh,
what the fuck is about removing your fucking thing?
By Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself.
That's
if you
bullshit.
become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions.
Why
but
you
can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code
That would be
NEWS
my
at
question.
likeforlike.com. Identity theft protection starts here. Termite problems? Search PacificCoastTermite.com or call 800-PACIFIC. More stimulating talk.
Radio station.
Show, John Cobell, Ken Champo, KFI, AM 640 live everywhere. On the iHeartRadio app, on from 1 to 4. After 4 o'clock, you can hear us on the app. Johnny Ken Podcast. Johnny Ken on the
3rd, we had a big train derailment. 50 cars. This happened in East Palestine, Ohio. This train was traveling from Madison, Illinois to Conway, Pennsylvania. Does Tim know people there? The rail operator was Norfolk Southern. There were no injuries. However, one of the train cars was releasing vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride is used to make the polyvinyl chloride hard plastic resin used in a bunch of plastic products, pipes, wires, packaging materials. So that's why it was being shipped, probably from one place to another. Days later, officials warned people to evacuate. The crews could release the toxic chemicals into the air from the 5 derailed tanker cars that were in danger of exploding. So vinyl chloride was slowly released from the 5 rail cars into a trough that was then ignited, creating a large plume of smoke above the little town of East Palestine, Ohio. Evacuation order was lifted. Federal and state officials have repeatedly said it is safe to return to the area. Air testing in the town and inside hundreds of homes not showing any concerning levels of contaminants. They also claim that the municipal drinking water is quite safe. But in case you're concerned, they've made bottled water available while testing is conducted for those with private wells. We bring you that story and then we bring you this update. 3 weeks after this derailment, people are beginning to report severe health conditions. Melissa Blake, who lives within a mile of the crash, has told ABC News that, picture this, she was coughing up gray mucus.
I'm also sick. After the derailment, people end up with rashes, nausea, vomiting, bloody noses, and eyes. So it's coughing and wheezing. See the problem? Dangerous. If every day you're inhaling a lower level, from a lower level than dangerous, then there could be an accumulation process and then daily damage to your lungs and bronchial tubes. I mean, clearly there's something poisonous that these people are ingesting. Yeah, and they're trying to say if it's related to the derailment or it could be symptoms, but can't be being in the safe category, and their lungs got the current reading being in the safe category, and their lungs got poisoned. So what's going on here? Is it an accumulation, or is it that, or maybe they're what they consider to be a safe amount of chemicals in the air is actually not safe for some people because everybody has different tolerances, everybody has different genetics, right? Or was the damage done the first day and then I know that the people who got severely diseased, their lungs got severely diseased, who were the rescuers 9/11 in New York City back in 2001. Some of that stuff took months and years to develop. You end up with like DNA changes in your genetic material. Oh yeah, well, I mean, like sometimes if you walk into a building in California, we got those proposition signs up there, right? Yeah. Now imagine if the whole building collapses and the building components turn into dust and they end up in your lungs. Right. Hey, we're talking like asbestos, right? Exactly. All the other people who smoke. Everybody knows somebody in their family. My father-in-law was like, they smoked for 60 years, lived to 91. At the end, he had some emphysema. Some people ended up with lung cancer in their 40s and 50s, even after they quit smoking 10 years earlier. Again, it depends on your own personal makeup. Some people, it's a whole genetic mix of just your susceptibility to certain illnesses. Yeah, you inhale tobacco and all its chemical contaminants, you can get cancer in a short number of years, or not. It's random. Now, meanwhile, the EPA has told the train company out of East Palestine, Ohio, and other places until they can take a closer look. I think we told you last week some of it was going to go to Texas. Yeah. And actually, some was going to go to Michigan. Officials in both states have complained that they weren't told contaminated water and soil was coming their way. And where do you put it when you bring it to Texas and Michigan? There's not really a deserted place that you can dump it. There is so much stuff in Harris County, Texas. They should be able to cordon off the corner in Texas or Oklahoma, Nebraska, anywhere out in the Great Plains. Wyoming, or in the Southwest Wyoming, all those places. Well, just take it to Canada. Canada's a good place to go. Greenland. It's tough to get in the ground there right now. It's the winter. Now, the guy, the New York Post news story on a guy, and I don't know if there's any audio of him. Eric, is there any audio of Wade Lovett? He's an auto detailer in East Palestine, and his voice sounds as if he's been inhaling helium. He says, my voice sounds like... I saw that story over the weekend that they sound like Mickey Mouse. Yeah. Doctors say I have the chemicals in me, but there's no one in town who can run the toxicological test to find out which ones they are. My voice sounds like Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
It's not really like Mickey Mouse, but it's pretty raspy. I'm going to play it wrong.
Wait, well, raspy? Okay. I thought it sounded like somebody sucked in the ear. Look in East Palestine, arena, outside with cars, with water, and it's just been like this ever since the train blew up. That's great. You know what? You have to play me his real voice from a couple of months ago, and then I'd really be shocked, but that's pretty bad. Yeah. Yeah. He said that's a squeaker. That's like he's really straining there and very high. My chest hurts so much at night, I feel like I'm drowning. I cough up phlegm a lot. I lost my job because the doctor won't release me to go to work. Oh, no. It's just, has he had an x-ray? Has he had any medical evaluation done? I mean, well, it says here, he says there's no one in town who can run the toxicological test. So we get in your car and go find the town that has them. But the problem with people in small towns are like, I don't feel like doing that. You got to go. You want me to drive all the way where? You go to the Cleveland Clinic. I bet you they can do it. That's one of the premier research healthcare centers in the world. 1.7 million gallons of contaminated liquids been removed from the site of this
photo more from people.
Yeah, and that's and they burned 1 million gallons. They did, yes. No, they burned they burned 1 million pounds, which translates to almost 10 million gallons of liquid. That's what went into the atmosphere when they did the burning. And that doesn't count the stuff that burned during the fire. And plus, during the fire, all other kinds of chemicals were released, right? Not just the vinyl chloride, but whatever the train is made of, the train car. All right, we got more coming up. We will play for you fresh comments from old Joe Biden, where apparently he's blaming at least the media for Americans' perception that the economy is still in a rough ride. Now, we'll also give you the newest inflation numbers that came out the other day, and they're the highest since last June. I thought all this Fed measures to raise the interest rates was supposed to be having an effect on the inflationary pressure, but certainly not so from this report. Johnny Ken, KFI, AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. Internet remark Jason Middleton live in the 24-hour KFI newsroom.
The U.S. Energy Department concludes that the COVID pandemic stems from a lab leak in Wuhan, China. Beijing is not cooperating with the investigation. The new study suggests eating eggs may be good for the heart. The journal Nutrients says eating 1 to 3 eggs each week could reduce the likelihood of cardiovascular disease by 60%. Seattle is the nation's saddest large metro area. Riverside came in second, and Phoenix is the third saddest city per the Census Bureau. We're going to get a live check and update on the 210 right after this.
All right, this is new. It's exclusive to Cutting Dental. It's called Infinity, the latest technology in new teeth in a day. Infinity. They're individually milled, custom zirconia crowns that are more durable, lighter, and stronger than their competitors. Infinity will give you the natural look and feel of real teeth. Call now and get a free exam, CT scan, X-rays. It's a $1,500 value. $1,500 value. Yours free. Those accents. Bring in any written offer from a competitor, and Cunning Dental will beat that deal. Easy financing options are available. We call Cunning Dental now. 888-640-SMILE. 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 CunningDental.com.
So the California weather from KFI: light and scattered rain today. Light rain overnight, light rain tomorrow. A little bit less of it coming from upstairs on the skies. High today in the mid-50s. Rinse repeat for tomorrow as well. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, let's go places. Let's head over to Lakeview Terrace and the 210.
It's the 210 westbound right at Osborne. Got that crash clearing from the right lane. Up ahead in Fillmore 5 north of San Fernando Road. The 2 left lanes are flooded. You find that delays from the 170. Woodland Hills, 101 southbound right at DeSoto Avenue. Still got that jackknife big rig blocking the 2 right lanes and the DeSoto on-ramp. Pico Rivera, 605 north of Washington Boulevard. Still a car in the carpool left lane. Going to be heavy from the 105 in Brea, 57 north of Yorba Linda Boulevard. Doing a break to try to fill some time holes. Hey, find a sky, help get you there faster. I'm Jimmy Harman.
This report is sponsored by Waterboy Whole House Filtration System. The Waterboy Whole House Filtration System brings fresh, clean water right to your tap. Call 1-800-WATERBOY now. Clean water for drinking, showering, cooking, laundry, and more. Call 1-800-WATERBOY. That's 1-800-WATERBOY.
Earn your bachelor's, master's, or nursing degree in the classroom or online at Vanguard University, ranked as a top 10 university in the West by U.S. News and World Report for 12 consecutive years. At Vanguard, your story matters. Visit vanguard.edu to learn more.
Testing. Treat it. Eat it.
Yeah. Visit youcanfeedit.org or call 833-422-4255. Faster medication to treat COVID-19. Sponsored by the California Department.
Lighted an American fighter plane projects over Canadian airspace, because those missiles are certainly several $100,000 each. Canada is smart. They'll handle. Hey, you guys spend the money. Go knock your socks off live 6 to 9 a.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. Johnny Kent Show, John Cobelt and Ken Shampo, KFI, AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Coming up after the news at 2:30, we'll give you the latest reports on electric vehicles. California is mandating in a short 12 years that all new cars sold in the state have to be electric or they have no emissions, zero emission vehicles. Here's some things you need to know. Now, these reports don't affect us so much here in the state of California, although this has been a very cold winter for your business project. This winter would have
affected people here in California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you paused and I thought you were going to say something else. No. Yeah, probably that's the case. Particularly right now if you're up at Big Bear. If you get my right. Places like that, Arrowhead. Anyway, we'll tell you what this is about. And also, an interesting report Atlantic magazine wrote about electric vehicles and how they may be always out of reach for people that have average salaries in this country. And there's a reason for that. Because you got to pay more to get more. All of this on our report coming up after the news at 2:30. The Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge rose last month at its fastest pace since June. Now, I've been listening and following the inflation reports over the last several months. The attitude was, well, inflation's still high, but we're starting to get a handle on it. Consumer prices rose 0.6% from December to January. That's up from 0.2% from November to December. Well, this would be the latest in a long series of alleged predictions that were wrong, because these government experts never saw this coming to begin with. Then when it came, they said, oh, it's going to be transitory. They made it sound like, 6 months. This little bump, supply chain, everybody getting used to being back at work and moving all the products around the world. And then it's a year and a half, and they're going, well, it's dropping down, right? Yeah, dropping. It isn't. It keeps going up. So they're wrong, and they're wrong. And they're not handing out any money anymore, are they? They're still stimulus checks. No, there's been no new bills passed for trillions of dollars, because there are several of those
inflation. And they never dug out from the debt. They never dug out from their depressed salaries the first 3 years of their working life. And in fact, they say people who came into the job market around 2008 are going to make like X% less in their life than people who came out in other years recently. It just set them on a slower track to earn money.
Yeah. All right, well, on the economy, we have some new audio from old Joe Biden. He sat down with ABC News anchor David Muir to talk about a bunch of topics, and they've released this one concerning Biden and the economic news.
I want to ask about the economy. You talk often about how the inflation, the rate of inflation has begun to slow. Unemployment now at its lowest level in 50 years. But you've also seen the polls. Our latest ABC News poll shows 4 in 10 Americans say they're worse off than when you were elected. Only 16% said they were better off. So why is that? Why aren't Americans feeling this?
Well, look, I think it goes well beyond the economy. Think about it. If you make the news, I mean, you interview for the news. Can you think of anything you turn on the television and, God, that makes me feel good? You think everything you made. We're also finding out now that one of the outlets has decided that they would put things on that they know to be false in order to increase their ratings. So I think they threw it out of whack, and I don't blame people for being down. You know, when you have a year, 2 years of the pandemic, kids out of school, mental health problems in the country are seriously increased, especially among young people. Some things are, they're going down about unemployment. They got better jobs. They're making more money. Inflation is still higher than it should be, and you know, everything from gasoline prices to a war going on in Ukraine. I mean, so I do think of a time when there's been greater uncertainty. Notwithstanding the fact we paid down $800 manufacturing bills, we're better off than virtually any other major nation in the world economically. But it's understandable why people are this down.
I love it when the politicians, like Trump, everyone does this. I created these jobs. Right? Your factory job died. We created them. Yeah, we created jobs. Come and go because of the private economy and the way it flows. Get out of here. We created jobs. But beyond that, this is typical that, you know, when there's economic news, which is unsettling, now we're going to blame the media. Oh, right, guys, focus on the negative. Right. The media is biased against Biden's economy. Or that's famously something that Nixon even used years ago, where they're gathering nabobs of negativity. That was Spiro Agnew. It was Spiro Agnew, right? Yes. I always remember that nabobs that were negativity. Gathering. Ever meet a nabob? Yeah, no, they all do. When I'm reading about the presidents, Clinton hated the media. Obama thought the media was unfair to him. You know, obviously, Trump did. They all complain about the media. And there's a lot to complain about. However, the rate of inflation exceeds the rate of people's salary increases. You know, if the inflation rate is going up 7%, but your salary is only going up 5%, well, then you're losing. And if you're living week to week, that makes a difference. That's something you notice. And you start going out less. Maybe you don't go to a movie. You don't go out to dinner on Friday night. But if that was true, how come inflation's still going up? In case people are still spending somehow. They're just going into debt, as you said? Yeah, they're going, from what I've read, the credit card debt is going fast upwards. Yeah. I think Americans, they felt like, oh my God, I suffered so much during the pandemic. The lockdowns, now they're just going nuts. American culture is weird. You travel to other countries, you don't have this frenzy to buy things, right? There's something that, and I'm realizing it now, you know, to what extent, you know, our family got caught up in buying things or having things, doing certain things, you know, because the people around you or people in the neighborhood or just a place you wanted to be in life. It's a very powerful force. As resistant, you know, as you want to be, as you try to be, you do get swept up in it, right? And I do think for people in the middle class, because so much about The wealthy is now broadcast 24/7. There's so much on social media. There's so much of what the wealthy have that it makes a lot of people a little crazy. And it's unconscious. It's not like they're sitting home outwardly moaning about it, but yeah, you know what, I want to get my share. It's my turn to have a good time. I want some of that. And you just throw another $1,000 on the credit card. Then after a while, what does it matter? Wasn't that long ago that I was reading people were saving more than they had, but that was during the pandemic. That was during the pandemic, yeah. They could still buy things online, but they weren't going out, so they spent money. Yeah, they could. All right, we got more coming up now. Important is to hear what's coming next. The Atlantic magazine did a story called The Inconvenient Truth about electric vehicles. We also have a story out of Norway concerning electric vehicles in cold weather, which most of the time isn't a big story here in California, but certainly when you talk about sales around the country, would have an impact. Johnny Kim, KFI AM 640 live everywhere the iHeartRadio app. Jason Middleton in for Deborah Mark live, the 24-hour KFI newsroom. A winter weather advisory has been issued for the LA, Ventura, and Santa Barbara County mountains through tomorrow afternoon. A series of weaker storms is set to bring rain and mountain snow along with winds to LA this week. The National Weather Service says a low pressure system that covers the entire west coast will pick up today and stretch across metropolitan LA through Wednesday. News brought to you by OPO Law. Officials in Central California say more than 24 people have been arrested during a gang crackdown. Tulare County Sheriff's Office said Saturday a sweep of 97 homes led to the arrest of 26 people on various charges. Officials say deputies uncovered methamphetamine, cocaine, and several weapons during the sweep. At least 17 law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, were involved in the investigation. SoCal Gas is planning to increase rates in 2024. The company says it filed an application to raise prices last year before this recent spike in natural gas costs. It says SoCal Gas seeks to increase revenues by 20% next year. If approved, customers will see the new prices January 1st, 2024. SoCal Gas said an average resident would see an increase of about $8.28 a month. We will check traffic in Gardena on the 110 right after this. Best-selling author David Horowitz says the 2024 election could be America's last. What? They've got a new bestseller. It's called Final Battle. David Horowitz reveals he says an effort led by far-left Democrats, big media, and a new woke generation looking to forever change U.S. culture within our schools, our churches, and yes, even our military. In his book, Horowitz explains how attacks on the Electoral College, Supreme Court, the integrity of the electoral system, and other customs undermines the possibility of bipartisan solutions to common problems. Horowitz sees Americans speaking in different and antagonistic political languages, with the two parties so polarized, he says, the American way of life itself is at risk. Horowitz names the players working behind the scenes to undermine enduring national institutions. Newsmax calls Final Battle the book of the year. Dinesh D'Souza says it's the biggest expose of Joe Biden and the Democratic left's true intentions for this country. You can find Final Battle in bookstores and check out the free offer here and save $28. Call 1-800-NEWSMAX. That's 1-800-NEWSMAX. Or go online to finalbattle611.com, finalbattle611.com, and get your free copy today. Southern California weather from KFI. Light rain today, off and on for LA and OC, highs in the mid-50s. The blanket of clouds and light rain continues overnight with lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, a little less scattered light rain, but it's there. Highs in the mid-50s. Tuesday, basically, is a second day. Now, let's head over for a traffic update and check a fresh wreck on the 110 in Gardena.
It's on that 110 southbound right before it gets to El Segundo Boulevard. It is blocking the two right lanes, but right now they have all lanes stopped as they try to get these out of your way. Also, it looks like the people were there at 605 northbound before Washington Street. That earlier stall cleared over the right shoulder. You're still going to be on and off the brakes from the 105 all the way up to the 10. Woodland Hills, 101 South Kennedy, Soto Avenue, got that crash with the jackknife big rig. Still blocking the two right lanes and the DeSoto on-ramp. And an Eagle Lock, 134 west of the 2, got a wreck in the right lane. And then on the flip side, 134 east, right at Harvey Drive, got a wreck clearing to the shoulder. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jim Harmon. Hi, members. Catch deep seafood savings at Woodlands Market. Sustainable wild-caught Chilean sea bass fillets are 20% off through February 28th. So capture line for better dinners. While supplies last. Shop in-store, online. Return supplies.
Man,
On your ear, on your screen. Follow us now.
sheet on this.
KFI AM 640. The John and Ken Show, John Cobell and Ken Shampoo, KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Yes, and we're forever on that app with the John and Ken podcast, right? You can download it there at the iHeartRadio app or KFIAM640.com. Not long after we finish the show, Monday through Friday after 4,
Nice queen.
you get the hours posted up.
Yeah,
We're going to spend a few minutes now on electric vehicles. Of course, it'll be a short 12 years before we have the California mandate that if you want to buy a new car, it's going to have to be zero emissions. That is going to be the rule in the state of California. More and more media outlets are writing about some of the definite drawbacks to EVs. Atlantic's story is the inconvenient truth about electric vehicles. Sort of like when you buy a car, remember years ago, and there might be a sticker on the side to tell you just how many miles per gallon you could expect city driving versus highway mileage versus local driving versus highway mileage, right? This story is basically about the limitations of the range in electric vehicles. It talks about how if you want that higher end range, you're going to have to pay for it. A new Ford F-150 Lightning, which is an electric version of their best-selling vehicle. People love the Ford F-150. Very big, John, in the middle of the country. I don't know if you know anyone who has one. But it's based in the number one car. Yep, the F-150. It's a nice pickup truck. Anyway, it starts at $55,000 in full basic form, which is fairly expensive. However, if you want the extended range battery, which moves you from 230 miles on a charge to 320, the cost rises to at least $80,000. The author of this article said that holds true with other brands like Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid. Yeah, if you really want the bigger battery option, you're going to have to pay a lot more to get it. And then there's the problem with the range itself. They don't want you to charge the car to its full range. You're not supposed to do that. No, that's not good. They discourage drivers from regularly exceeding 90%. And that's even on a Tesla. They don't want you on a Tesla as well. And by the way, just to go back to the F-150 a second, if you get the $80,000 F-150, that gets you 320 miles. That's like having a 20-gallon gas tank that gets 16 miles to the gallon.
how much battery charge will be left started to slip. He had a comfortable cushion, and then he said it was troublingly low. He locked the cruise control at the speed limit, or just below, so he wouldn't cost himself any miles with a lead foot. And then 2 sets of headlights closed in behind me, whizzed by. They were Teslas, but he could tell they paid $5,000 to $10,000 more for a longer range version of the car, a dual motor version.
It's called a dual motor, right?
Yeah.
That's something that they make, right? Right.
So if you get the ordinary Tesla, you're on a strict diet. You have to pay the extra 10 grand to have more ease. You can't drive as fast as you want.
Right.
And then the cold weather story.
Oh yeah, that's the one from. Well, there's two. There's one from Norway, from the Golden Nail. In northern Norway, it's bitter cold. The durability of electric vehicles is put to the test. There's also a pretty good story from the state of Michigan, with the same thing. Some guy who writes about cars in Detroit said the same thing. He's finding that operating an electric vehicle in these colder conditions really severely restricts the range.
So it's not practical for a lot of people. I mean, much of the country has had some bitterly cold periods. The one thing that a car buys you, if you keep it gassed up, is tremendous freedom to go about your day, to go about your life, to go on a trip, to do what you want. And amidst all this excessive hype about the wonder of electric cars, what they don't talk about, but is clearly true, it is going to constrict your freedom. And like everything else the progressives do, little by little the truth comes out. It's a drip, drip, drip situation. For example, this year we learned that they only want you to charge after 9 o'clock at night, after you come home from work. 4 to 9 o'clock, no charge. Well, that may not be convenient. What are you supposed to do? You don't have to worry about that. There's gasoline stations open up 24 hours a day.
Right.
But now there's going to be restrictions. And eventually, you will see, they're going to monitor how much electricity you're using during peak times. And if they detect that you're using too much, they will eventually, it's all be done remotely on the internet. That is what they're headed towards, is that they'll restrict the electricity flow to your house. And this may sound crazy and alarmist, but trust me, don't give an inch on this. Because every year, little by little, they're gonna coerce you into playing ball.
I saw an editorial today in the Wall Street Journal. They were citing an interview with one of the operators of the big electricity grids, who says that our projections show we continue to move away from fossil fuels and towards all electric with regards to everything. You heard the stupid thing about stoves. They don't want natural gas anymore, and of course they don't want to use a gasoline-powered car. They don't think the grid is going to have the strength to keep up with it at the pace that they're trying to do this. Because look, we're stuck in this situation now where every day another report comes out about the rapid increase in climate change effects. These characters go nuts, trying to push everything faster, which is cutting back on fossil fuels and moving towards electricity. And there's not going to be the grid for this. At least that's what the particular grid operator says.
And they know this. And eventually they're going to come to a point where they make natural gas, gasoline, electricity so expensive that we're just going to have to live in a reduced state. That is the plan, is you'll live in a reduced state because they say so. That takes away your freedom and puts you under their control.
Right.
Because they've created a system now where all fuel is too expensive. And they justify it by saying we're saving the planet. That's the cover story. The real story is they want control. This global warming thing was just beautiful for them to use, to make people feel guilty. They make you feel guilty about the freedom you have in your life and about what you spend your money on and the convenience that you have and what you enjoy. Yep. All right, we got more coming up. John and Ken
arrow territory after last week's downer mood on the street. A national business economic survey shows 60% of economists think a recession happening this year is basically a coin flip. Police in Canada are reminding citizens not to call 911 just because they're hangry. Royal Mounted Police tweeted Friday that they had a call from a woman angry about the long drive-through lane Burger King. We'll get a live check on the 405 in Inglewood right after this.
This leads to accidents. Yeah, you know what? We haven't had this much rain in a while, so here's our warning to you. There's going to be a lot of nutty drivers out there who absolutely have no idea what to do in the rain. They're going to drive too fast, try to do what they usually do, and you could easily end up in a nasty accident. So no matter how careful you are, accident happens, you get hurt, you call our guy. Our guy, the accident attorney that we recommend, Sweet James, 800-500-5200. Hey, you saw a guy. I got a guy for you. Don't take this on alone. The Sweet James accident attorneys help you get the medical care you need, get your vehicle fixed, and of course, to maximize your compensation. So if you're hurt, call the attorney that we're recommending here, Sweet James Accident Attorneys. Number is 800-500-5200, 800-500-5200, or go to sweetjames.com. Southern California weather from KFI. Light and scattered rain today, light rain overnight, light rain tomorrow as well, but a little bit less of it, partly cloudy. Highs today in the mid-50s, rinse repeat for tomorrow. This report brought to you by Wendy's. Try Wendy's home-style French toast sticks today from the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center. Let's go places. That means let's roll into Inglewood on the 405.
We got a brand new crash on the 405 north side of Manchester. This crash has a pole that was knocked down. It is blocking the two right lanes. It stopped, though, as you're coming away, I'd say, from the 105. Also in Gardena, Lincoln southbound right at Redondo Beach Boulevard, had to spin out into the left lane of the express lane. All lanes are stopped as they try to clear this. Now, in the backup, Lincoln southbound, right before El Segundo Boulevard, all lanes are stopped to clear a crash from the two right lanes. And in Woodland, no. 101 southbound at DeSoto Avenue, we still have trouble with Jackman Bigwood. The two right lanes are blocked as well as the DeSoto on-ramp. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jenny Harman. Wendy's home-style French toast sticks are so good. Some are saying they're better than her mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, perfectly fluffy on the inside, perfectly perfect in every way. Try Wendy's home-style French toast sticks today. I think they're better than your mom.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org. Portions of the following program will be recorded.
What if a mouse could change the world? What if elephants could fly? What if the whole world could celebrate together? KFI wants to send you to the celebration of 100 years of Disney at the Disneyland Resort. Enter for your chance to win one-day, one-park tickets to Disneyland or Disney California Adventure Park from KFI and join the celebration. Offering subject to capacity restrictions and change without notice. Visit KFI on Instagram and enter to win a chance to celebrate 100 years of Disney. Good luck from KFI, AM 640.
More stimulating talk.
John and Ken Show, John Cobell, Ken Shampoo, KFI, AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Yeah, I just want to pass along a good secret to everybody. Mondays is a great day to listen to the show. There's no commercials. So, not working on it. It's clear to me now the last few weeks, Mondays, there's like 2-minute breaks. It's fine. You get more of us, right? That's right. There's still people that complain. It's just too many commercials. They pay the bills. Coming up after 3 o'clock. Wow. You know, can't say we don't do follow-up. This story takes us back a couple of years. Our guest will be Wendy Ludwig. Many of our listeners did participate in a fundraiser for her little son, Gavin. He was attacked. He was just coming home from swimming at a neighbor's house, and the 32-year-old man beat him, picked up a large rock, grabbed Gavin and slammed him into the right side of his head. He slammed the rock into Gavin's head. And unprovoked. This was just obviously, when you'll see, a mentally deranged person who came out of nowhere and attacked Gavin. They had no connection to each other. This was random. Really tough day for a little boy. is, he's much better. This happened, I think 2020, wasn't it, John? I think it was, during the pandemic. Anyway, coming up after 3 o'clock, Wendy's coming back on the show. Not only to give us an update on Gavin's health, and many of you, as I mentioned, were part of the GoFundMe, which raised a lot of money for young Gavin, but give us an update on the attacker, who apparently has done this before and slides through the justice system by being sent to a mental hospital. And then, of course, the brilliant people there declare him, hell, he's fine, he's cured, we put him back out in the world, and, he attacked Gavin. He has attacked people before. So the family was hoping for prison time, and long prison time, for somebody who does this to what was then a 7-year-old boy. So we'll get the update from Wendy, Gavin's mother, coming up after the news at 3 o'clock. Well, I have to ask this question, John, because you kind of follow this, even though you find it comical. Is there anybody left working at Twitter? Twitter had 7,500 employees when Elon Musk took over in October. 7,500. There are now less than 2,000 people working there. And Twitter still runs. That's what I was going to ask you. Have there been any major outages or problems or users complaining? Not that I'm aware of, no. I find it really fascinating. I have not seen a single story where someone says, I can't post on Twitter. It seems to be down, 8 hours a day. I just haven't seen it. I don't know. You know what I think? I think they actually had a lot of employees who were there censoring all the. I think that was the life. I was like, what were all these people doing? You can cut back. What was it? 2/3 of them here? Well, I read a fair number of the Twitter files that were dumped by those journalists. Elon Musk had all the internal memos released, and a group of journalists, including Michael Schellenberger, that's Taibbi, who I've read for years, and it looks like this was a huge operation. This may have been the single largest operation within Twitter, other than keeping the general service running, because it took a lot of work to comb through all these and then decide, does it stay, does it go, does it get a warning sticker on it, and there's a lot of political issues that became taboo. And what about the terrorists? Although they were using other platforms, where the terrorists are allowed full reign on all social media sites and all kinds. You just get a special terrorist exemption, special recruitment. Well, it says here in the New York Times, the latest round of cuts hits product managers, data scientists, and engineers who work on machine learning and site reliability, which supposedly keeps Twitter's various features online. So, but you're telling me that I haven't heard of any big outages or problems with that. I mean, unless are they dropping off like roads too because they're angry that Elon Musk took over, or people quitting Twitter? No, they've had problems with advertising because some of the progressive advertising drops. Executives, they're claiming, there's a lot of objectionable material. We just don't want our ads alongside these posts, right? So there's been a lot of that. He's got less revenue, which is all the more reason he's got to cut bodies. But the day-to-day operation, the mechanical operation of posting and people getting your post, I have not read anything that it's been compromised. And I know the media would jump all over it because they all want it to fail now. He's replaced Trump as public enemy number one. And this wasn't just about getting rid of the woke people. He also wants to turn a profit into it. And he probably looked around and said, do we really need 7,500 people working here? I saw two things this week. I saw that Facebook, the median salary at Facebook is $400,000. Median. What? Yes. $398,000 to be exact. To do what? Good question. What did all these thousands do at Twitter? What did they all do? They all have like big titles too, like product manager, data scientist. I'm a data scientist at Facebook. Then the third thing I just read was a guy. There's some kind of social media app called Blind, and it's where workers could bitch about their companies and bosses without being identified. claims that he's a tier 1 middle manager. Tier 1 being the lowest ranking. And at Facebook, another round of layoffs are coming. And he fears that his tier is going to be chopped. And that he is going to lose his $550,000 salary. Again, he's in the lowest level ranking. God knows how many tier 1 middle managers there are. And he's pissed about it because he's 40 years old, about 40, and maybe about 42. And in about 3 years, in 2026, he figured he'd be promoted to tier 2 and make $1 million a year. And once he got there, he'd be able to shortly retire. He uses an acronym called FIRE, which I wasn't familiar with. I have to look it up. And it's financially independent, retire early. FIRE, F-I-R-E. And he goes, I'm a few years away of hitting FIRE in my 40s. Once I get to that $1 million a year magic salary, I don't know how many years he wants to work beyond that, but not there. Right. And now he's out of his mind because he knows he's not going to find another mid-level job for $550,000 a year. And he posts this, and of course people start throwing stuff in. Yeah, really good. They're just jealous. Yeah, it's remarkable the salary, how much money they were making. They were making so much money, and they were very competitive. Twitter and Facebook, Google, all these tech companies, social media companies. They had so much money. They were so competitive to get whatever they thought was the best. And they also hired like mad during the pandemic because so many people were at home using their product in ever greater numbers. You could throw Amazon into that mix as well, too. Except the pandemic ended and the bubble popped, and then, there's been enough scandals, and people are just sick of it. A lot of people are sick of social media. I could tell just looking at my feeds. It's like a lot of people stop. So, it's just, I don't think Elon Musk needed all those people. Well, one of them became somewhat famous. Her name is Esther Crawford. She was seen wrapped up in a sleeping bag, sleeping at her Twitter offices, wearing like a little eye shade over her face. And she tweeted out, when your team is pushing around the clock to make deadlines, sometimes #sleep where you work. That got San Francisco officials worked up because they're like, that's not a sleeping space. That's an office space. People can't sleep there. We're having to investigate Elon Musk's Twitter. That happened a few months ago. Yeah. She got laid off. Yeah, well, she was like trying to suck up to Musk, saying, look at me. I'm so devoted, I'll sleep here on the floor to make sure I can get back and work quickly. She was part of the old guard, and he fired a lot of the old guard. And she wanted to show, no, I'm with you now. I switched sides. No, I'm all for you. And so she's sleeping on the floor, and she's taking a photograph of herself on the floor and then posting it. But you look like an idiot. You imagine taking a photo of yourself here at the radio station in a sleeping bag with an eye shade on, and then putting it online so everybody can see that you're here working 24/7 for the good of the station. You feel like a moron because you would be a moron. All right, when we return, we're going to welcome back to the show, and it's been a while, Wendy Ludwig. Her little son Gavin was attacked viciously by a violent, evil, crazed man. That happened in the Inland Empire a couple of years back. He was just on his way home from a neighbor's house, and he was bludgeoned with a rock and left for dead in the streets until, fortunately, a neighbor saw him. He was having seizures. Gavin has recovered nicely, but we have an update on the attacker to talk about. John and Ken, KFI AM 640, live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app. And Jason Middleton in the Deborah Mark, live in the 24-hour KFN newsroom. If it doesn't affect you, we're not interested.
KFI.
KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Fast as can. Jason Middleton live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. 28,000 people are still experiencing power outages from the winter storm that hit LA County. The LA DWP's Brian Wilbur says the department is working as fast as possible, but must prioritize service calls. We are going to hire Telegraph said Saturday the books are expected to be republished in April. The books will include a disclaimer saying that this book was written at a time when terms and attitudes which might be considered offensive by modern readers were commonplace. A number of updates have been made in this edition while keeping as close as possible to the original text and the period in which it was set. Your KFI financial report is sponsored by Jacoby and Myers. The Wall Street finished in up arrow territory. The Dow closed 72 points up. S&P 500 up 12. Nasdaq up also 72 points. Average price of a gallon of unleaded gasoline today in LA County, $4.77.
Don't wait. Maximize your compensation. Call Jacoby and Myers now. Justice for you since 1972.
Southern California weather from KFI. Light and scattered rain continues today for LA and OC. Highs in the mid-50s. The off-and-on rain continues overnight, lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, more light rain, a little less of a shower. Highs also in the mid-50s. Right now, Laguna Beach is at 53. Yorba Linda is at 52. Rancho Palos Verdes at 50, and so is Whittier. Now let's get a live traffic update, and that means a recheck on Woodland Hills and the 101. It's on the eastbound side of the 101, right up to Soto Avenue. It's an accident, and it's taking out the two right-hand lanes. You're slow on the east 101, first from Parkway, Calabasas to the Soto Avenue, and up ahead northway, it's on the east 101 between Woodman Avenue and the North Hollywood Freeway. Also slow going on the west 101 from the Northwest Slip to Van Nuys Boulevard. Michael Bryan is checking your ride through Pomona and KFI in the sky.
In Pomona, looks like the 10 westbound at Dudley. That's the problem involving a big rig, and it's still in the middle of there. Very tough out of Claremont there, starting at about Indian Hill. Like that eastbound, looking and moving from the 57. Now through the Cajon Pass, it's been a real challenge these days with the weather. 15 southbound, you're pretty much jammed to the 395 down to the 138, and the 15 northbound from Clayton One Fire Road up to the 138 as well. Now we also have a lot of heavy traffic up at 605. 605 southbound, that is going now from the 10 down through the 5. 605 northbound, pretty tight up there from the 105 to the 10. Michael Bryan, KFI in the sky.
Good news out of South LA. South Lane 10 at Oxygen, the Boulevard Express is cleared out of lane. KFI in the sky. I'll get you there faster. I might want it.
David Horowitz thinks the 2024 election could be America's last. That's the startling conclusion in his new best-selling book. Yeah, his new bestseller is called Final Battle. David Horowitz, he reveals an effort he says is led by far-left Democrats, big media, and a new woke generation looking to forever change U.S. culture within our schools, our churches, even our military. Horowitz explains how attacks on our electoral college, the Supreme Court, the integrity of the electoral system, and other customs undermines the possibility of bipartisan solutions to common problems. Horowitz sees Americans speaking in different and antagonistic political languages, with the two parties so polarized that he thinks the American way of life itself is at risk. Horowitz names the players working behind the scenes to undermine our enduring institutions. Find Final Battle in bookstores and check out the free offer and save $28. Just call 1-800-NEWSMAX. That's 1-800-NEWSMAX. Or go online to finalbattle611.com. Finalbattle611.com. Battle611.com. Finalbattle611.com to get your free copy today.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual reading of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me. Nope.
Oh no.
He's been stolen. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Americans pay about $5 billion a year to control termites and repair the damage. More than floods, earthquakes, hurricanes combined. Call Pacific Coast Termite at 800-PACIFIC for a free home inspection. Certain restrictions apply. No tenting ever. Call 800-PACIFIC. 800-PACIFIC. Visit PacificCoastTermite.com. Call 800-PACIFIC.
Pacific Coast Termite. Kills termites.
The clean, friendly way.
More stimulating talk.
An iHeart radio station.
For the John Kent Show. I'm John Cobell, Ken Shampoo, KFI. AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. Welcome, everybody. We got a special report later on this hour about California's prisons and the plans to close even more of them. It's one of the reasons you're seeing more crime. There are just more people out there to do it. And they are hell-bent on doing this in Sacramento, led by July of 2020, when a little boy by the name of Gavin Woodward was attacked on his way home from a neighbor's pool party. This is out in Desert Hot Springs. They're calling it the neighborhood called Vista del Valle. He was attacked by a 32-year-old evil. Wow, look at the guys. Mugshot picture too. Daniel Birch Folsom, 32 years old. There was no confrontation. There was nothing. Just a completely random attack where Folsom attacked little Gavin, and he hit him with a rock. And he fractured his skull. We covered the story back in 2020. We talked to Gavin's mother, Wendy, who's going to come on in just a moment with an update on the story. But it was horrendous. A long road to recovery. He had to be airlifted to Loma Linda Medical Center. So they eventually found the suspect hiding in the neighborhood, arrested for attempted murder. This is a person that should never see the light of day ever again in society. However, what we found out is following the story for months later, in fact, this man has had history, and of course it involves psychiatric issues, so he often seems to end up being placed in a state mental hospital, which, as you know, doesn't last.
Yeah.
Right? They're in the business of curing people, quotes. Yes, they don't lock him up for good. They think they can fix him, and you can't fix a violent psychotic or a smash or rock on a little boy's head. There's no fixing that impulse. I want to read this quote. Arturo Dilla was on his way to grab dinner, but he noticed little Gavin lying next to the sidewalk and ran over to help him. I said, "Hey, Gavin," I went to turn him over. I noticed there was damage on the right side of his head. I called his name out. He started to cry. I was in shock by that point because I couldn't believe what was happening. So I picked him up, ran to his house, knocked on the door. The family was shocked, and from there he got the medical help. So we'll get an update on Gavin and an update on this evil attacking man now by talking to Wendy. Wendy, you there?
I am. I have to thank you for not forgetting about Gavin.
Oh, we told you we were never going to forget about it. No, we got the update. We'll find out the latest, but let's talk about your son first, and how are things today for him?
He's doing well, health-wise. He's back to his rambunctious self. He did have to change school to go to a moderate to severely handicapped school, which is really hard on me because he's been at my school with me since kindergarten, and now he has to go to a different school.
You're a teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What are the challenges he still has?
He still has weakness on his left side since his head was hit on the right side, and his academics dropped severely after the attack. So he's I would say at about a kindergarten level, and he's in the 4th grade.
Is he 9 years old now?
Yeah, he's 9. He'll be 10 in April.
How is his psyche? How's his feeling about everything now?
He's happy-go-lucky. He doesn't remember the attack because it happened because the guy, he came up from behind and hit him. So Gavin didn't even know.
So he doesn't have that trauma to experience it.
No, he has no memory of the attack, thankfully.
So it's going to take a long time to catch up.
Yeah.
What is the status now of this monster? Yeah, this attacker, and you had told us and warned us that apparently in his past he's often been put in psych institutions.
He was in a psychiatric institution for 2 years, and they said for previous offense, and they said that they could not get him ready for trial, so they let him go because I guess California has a 2-year law, and a little over a year later is when he attacked Gavin.
Did we know what he was accused of back with the first case you just mentioned? Do you know what that was?
A sexual assault on a minor.
Right. What do you mean that California is a 2-year law? What, keeping him locked up in a mental institution?
Right. They only can keep them in a mental institution without their consent for 2 years. And they said the last time they said they couldn't get him ready for trial, so they gave him medication and let him go.
And if somebody has is that going to happen again? If he has a continuing psychotic problem, they do keep some people in there long term.
Well, I certainly hope so, because I just found out that they're not going to trial.
Ever?
Not now. The judge said he was insane at the time he attacked my son, so they're going to put him back in a mental institution.
But what's the severity of the attack? Is a possibility there that he's going to be out in a year or two?
I hope not. That's what I told the DA, the victim's advocate, and she said that they're going to do everything they can.
Well, I don't understand how he's been in there for several years already.
Right, and it didn't help.
And what it did not help, right? What he did to your son, clearly it didn't help. He has an organic disorder in his brain.
Yeah.
Some children, whether it's sexual or it's physical violence, that you can't fix that short of giving them a lobotomy.
Are you done?
Right.
Are you done?
Right. My son was 7. He was 32. You know, there was nothing my son could have done to, for that to happen to him. He was just walking home.
Oh, and do you know what when they released him originally on the medication, what was the medication he was taking for what?
I don't know. I just guess for the mental problems that he has.
Yeah. Do you have like a victim's advocate that keeps you informed?
Yeah, through the DA's office. Well, she talks to me like maybe once every 6 months. I call her more than she calls me, but I guess they're busy,
Well, but, so what's the timeline now? How long is he going to be in this mental institution going forward?
I don't know. I'm supposed to meet with the district attorney next month, and hopefully I'll find out more.
Cubs.
Well, I was told when she first told me that everything was confidential, but then it went through the court, and the judge said that. So I figured after the judge said it was public knowledge. That's why I'm talking now.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets released, he was in your neighborhood because he was living with family or something, wasn't he? Or
Right, he was living with his aunt and cousins, and his mother was living in the garage apartment.
so yeah, he could end up back in your same neighborhood. He's a family psycho, and they kept him locked up in the garage until he got loose one day.
Yeah, they said that they're not going to let him come back, but it's so scary.
Why can't they get a diagnosis that sticks him in a mental hospital for good? Yeah, they do this with what they call sexually violent predators. We've covered those stories before, where they're able to put them away for sometimes a decade or more. I don't see why. Just because he's not sexually violent, but he's violent. I don't know why they can't admit that these people are permanently damaged, are permanently psychotic.
I don't either. And my son has a permanent sentence.
Yeah, just because they sent him off with medication doesn't mean he's going to take it or it's going to work. This is not a solution.
Exactly.
Well, Wendy, we'll direct our listeners again to the GoFundMe. You still have it up there. I see GoFundMe.com. It's Love for Little Gavin is the key search words to find GoFundMe for the family, Wendy. And you have another child as well. And
yes.
It's horrible to mention, but we will, that you lost your husband to cancer just a few months before this happened. So,
right.
Really tough times for you. And we know our audience came through, and now with this bad news, but at least it's good news that Gavin is on his way to at least more recovery. Yeah, we have the link to the GoFundMe on our website, so you could find it there as well. After you meet with the DA, call us and to tell us what happened. All right? We want to get an idea how long he'll be in the mental institution for now, at least.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Wendy Ludwig, thank you very much for coming on, and give our best to Gavin. Doing this story really brings home just how horrific the California criminal justice system is. We spent a lot of time on Good Gaston, but now look at this one little story of a little boy randomly attacked by someone he didn't even know. And the result is this man's just going to be put in a mental institution, probably free in a year or two. Just give him some medication, send him on his way. And this had happened before. And one was accused of some sort of sexual assault, and he got out in a year. Why is everybody so cruel? Why have they created a system that is so cruel and mean? The system is in favor of the defendant. But who are these people? This new criminal justice crowd just does not believe in incarceration. They root for violent psychotics. They root against vulnerable young little boys who are just out playing. I don't understand. I want to meet these people. I want to meet the people who side with a psychotic, violent monster like this over a little gathering. It's hard to believe that in this case is calling out for so much sympathy for the victim and none for the attacker. Except he has a mental illness. If he has a mental illness, well, no, Gavin's got permanent damage in his brain now. Right. If they had dealt with this guy differently, as you mentioned the year before when they released him after being accused of sex assault, he might not have been on the street and he were attacked. And what are the names of the people who released him? What are their names? What do they look like? The faceless bureaucrats at the psych hospital? Yeah, the psych hospital minutes. What are they doing? They know these people are going to go out and kill and attack again. Hey, we got this. Yeah. Jonathan KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app. And Jason Middleton in for Deborah Mark live in the 24-hour KFI newsroom. The White House is confident it's in the clear legally for its plan to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars of student loan debt. Others disagree. The Supreme Court hears arguments tomorrow. Saudi Arabia is providing critical aid to Ukraine as its war with Russia drags on. The Saudi pledge is worth $400 million. Thousands of Lake Arrowhead residents remain snowed in after the weekend's powerful storm. Some parts of the town received up to 6 feet of snow. Southern California weather from KFI. Light and scattered rain continues today. Going to continue overnight and into tomorrow. Tomorrow's highs in the mid-50s, same as today. This report is brought to you by personal injury firm Owen, Patterson, and Owen. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, let's go places. Let's roll into Glendale on the 134. It's on the connector road, 134 westbound transition to the 2 northbound. An accident just cleared out of the right-hand lane of this transition road, but he had delays on the west 134 from San Rafael to the 2, the Glendale Freeway. Eastbound side, it's nothing but brake lights from Buena Vista to the 210 freeway. Michael Bryan taking your drive through Woodland Hills and KFI in the sky.
We have troubles on the 101, Mike. The 101 southbound is just photo. Looks like they're still praying for the 2 right lanes, so that's just jammed up out of Calabasas. Up ahead, a little pinch at the 134 split, and then once again, Hollywood, typical showing, Hollywood Boulevard on into downtown Los Angeles. Now, it looks like the 710 southbound points, they cleared up the problem there. It's still a little extra tight there from the 60 and the 405 northbound at Manchester. It's ready for the 2 right lanes. It's back up to the 105, and you got more slowing up ahead. The 10 over the pass. Michael Bryan, KFI in the sky.
Here's the big A in Anaheim, 57 northbound at Capella. An accident takes out the carpool and 2 left-hand lanes. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Mike Morris.
When accidents happen, clients soon realize that this is a fight for insurance company dollars. Access to this money is not easy, and all lawyers are not created equal. I'm Susan Owen, managing partner at OPO Law. Let us win for you. 888-OPO-WINS, OPOLaw.com.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Printed Marketing Services help small business print big. Now get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more. Offer ends $4.15. Visit staples.com/printbig for details. This is your sign to try Staples, where your prints are perfect guaranteed. Best-selling author David Horowitz has a new bestseller, Final Battle, that reveals a not-so-secret war in America. So far-left Democrats and the new woke generation are remaking our country and its institutions. That's what Horowitz says. Final Battle reveals Joe Biden and big media's plans, according to Horowitz, to stop Trump and DeSantis in 2024. Then Horowitz, won't even name his names of the secret players says that are driving today's woke ideology. Get Final Battle and take advantage of the free offer. Call 1-800-NEWSMAX. That's 1-800-NEWSMAX, or go to finalbattle611.com to get your free copy today.
energy future. This is not the stuff of legends. This is the stuff of everyday Southern Californians. Because thanks to programs and rebates from SCE, we all have the power to create a clean energy California. Visit SCE. Because thanks to programs and rebates from SCE, we all have the power to create a clean energy California. Visit SCE.com/clean energy to learn more.
Oh, God, I got PTSD from Barney. My kids with Barney. Barney songs, Barney costumes, Barney events, Barney games. And I said, okay, I am done with Barney. This was last year. Bill handled. I said, you guys are finished.
Live 6 to 9 a.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app.
John and Ken Show. John Cobalt and Ken Champo. It's KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. I have a hair in my mouth. Hang on. Oh, it's the wrong one. Well, sometimes they hang on the microphone or the chairs. Oh, is that what you mean? Okay. Yes, was my dear God. Where are you going? I didn't know where you were going. We had a call to the voice line last Friday that we played. There was somebody ranting about the state prisoners. I think they thought we spent about $75,000 or $80,000 a year. The joke was, it's just give them that money to not commit crime. Like, no, you're wrong. California now spends $106,000 to keep a person incarcerated for a year. We'll talk about the state prisons. The plan is to close more of them, to unleash more of the dangerous people on you. We were just talking about the state psychiatric hospital system because an attacker of a little 7-year-old boy in Desert Hot Springs back in 2020 is probably going to get the easy treatment once again, sent to a state mental institution and probably released within a year or two, with medication. Although we're going to follow this story because it's got to be that because this time he bludgeons a little boy with a rock. You understand, previously he was accused of some type of sex assault, but we don't know the details of it. He got out quickly from the state psych hospital. I can't believe this time, a year or two, after doing this to a little boy, he would be released. I refuse to believe that, even though it's hard in California to not believe the worst. Now, I mean, if they release him, we're going to raise holy hell. We're not letting go of this story. If we find out a year from now he's out, yeah, no, every person in the state's going to know about this. This is ridiculous. Well, the first thing, John, they're going to say is, oh, well, he's been held since 2020 when this happened, so we've already had him for years. Maybe we'll let him go now. I don't care what they say. I know what their objective is. They want to release everybody, and they'll have an excuse for every single one of them. They'll have some reasoning, some bogus study, some claim. They're a bunch of liars. They're evil. They're anarchists, and they're working on the inside. And they've got no logic, no sense, no intelligence. They simply want to destroy. That's what they're doing. When you decide you're going to release tens of thousands of prisoners, that means you want to destroy whatever peace and security we have out here. That must be your intention. And I'm so sick of hearing their reasons. I don't care about their ideology. I don't care what they believe. They believe in insanity. That's not a way of life that normal people want. One of the things I believe the California voters did in a ballot measure a few years ago, and I think it's one we were a yes on. Remember, John, it was trying to cut back on the appeals for people that got the death penalty. Remember that whole? Yeah. They also in the you got it 10 years. Within 10 years, you have to be executed. Of course, we don't execute anybody, but there was talk. There was just a whole new death row that maybe we could resume executing. I think a judge even said the victims' families are right. You set yourself on a path. It's legal to execute people in the state. You ought to go do it. But Newsom declared a moratorium, and that was that. So I think in that ballot measure was also taking murderers and integrating them into the general prison population. Now, this convicted serial killer, Ramon Escobar, I don't know whether or not he got the death penalty or just life in prison without the possibility of parole. But apparently he is in a cell at the North Kern State Prison in Delano. And he got a new roommate the other day. I believe this was very recent. Named Juan Villanueva. Well, killed Villanueva. Not relation to former Sheriff Alex Villanueva, which happens to be his last name. Villanueva was found unresponsive. That's your favorite line, John, right? right? Unresponsive. Oh, he deserved it, though. Yes, this is one of these things where this is what you wanted. This is like putting the ugly gladiators in the ring. And sure, let them kill each other. Well, he got a life sentence, Villanueva, for aggravated sexual assault of a child under the age of 14. He got a life sentence for that. That tells me it must have been really nasty. Yeah, you don't want to know the details. They don't have the details. Because usually you only get a life sentence when you killed somebody, but this was a sex assault. This must have been horrific. So Villanueva would sexually assault young children. But his roommate Escobar, this guy was in the big leagues. He killed his relatives. And then he was homeless and started attacking people here in Los Angeles and Santa Monica. He would bludgeon victims with bolt cutters or a baseball bat. These were homeless people. I remember the story. We covered it. As they lay sleeping on the beach or on the street, he'd walk up with a bat and just start wailing away. Yeah, it says, I remember this, specifically all but one were homeless. And I remember it's because the family of one of the victims contested that their man was homeless. I think that was one of the Santa Monica murders. I just remember that story. They were saying, well, even though I think he was sleeping underneath the pier, if I remember correctly, and he was bludgeoned by this man. Yeah, his family wanted to say, oh, no, he wasn't homeless. Because sometimes he's just very tired after work. I'm not going to argue that. Well, because he was homeless, it's just the shame of having somebody in the family being homeless. Yeah, and the guilt that the family feels, so they try to correct the record. So Escobar did get life sentence without parole, which I don't believe in anymore. He pled guilty to killing 5 men, injuring 7 others, and as John mentioned, he also pled guilty to killing his aunt and uncle back in Houston. 2018. Oh, there you go again, John. Another guy that came to California. Killed people. I think they have an express train that brings only violent criminals into California to live in the streets. Well, here's my question. He pled guilty to killing his aunt and uncle in Texas in 2018. Why don't they take him and kill him? They do the death penalty in Texas. They should. Why is he getting a service time here for the killings here? Texas should have granted him a triumph for killing his aunt and uncle and put him on death row and given him the old injection. They don't explain how Escobar killed Villanueva. At least not that I've seen. No, just Villanueva was found unresponsive. Usually it's asphyxiation. Usually it's strangling you to death or something like that. Because he found some sort of weapon. Yeah, I mean, Villanueva got what he deserved. I wonder if there's a video of this. So now what do you do with Escobar? Which is oddly, there's booking photos that came with the Fox 11 story. Escobar's kind of smiling. He's a psycho. The dead guy has got a grimace. He's a psycho. What do you think they talked about him that led to the murder? You know, they found that he was a child molester. Remember, child molester don't fare well in prisons. That's possible. There is that prison hierarchy where they want to kill child molesters. But I don't know why that's part of their code of honor. But if both of them were housed in what a name, the reception center, which processes prisoners admitted to counties throughout California. You can hold them there for 90 days, and then they figure out where they put them in the state prison system. But this dead guy didn't make it. The other way they didn't make it to. So, I mean, you're already in prison life without parole for killing a bunch of people. I mean, you kill another inmate. I mean, that's they had much time. Most dangerous people are those with nothing to lose. That's why he could kill every roommate they ever give him. What does it matter? Yeah. All right, when we come back, it will be more on the state prison system. This is a broader story. We have followed this for some time now. They continue to find ways to close state prisons, and now they may be closing several more. We need to hear how many inmates we're down to, how much it costs, and the plans for the future. John and Ken KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. And Deborah Mark's off today, and we have Jason Middleton live in the 24-hour KFI newsroom.
The financial futures of up to 43 million student loan borrowers are in the hands of the Supreme Court. ABC's I.T. Jiachi says arguments on the case start tomorrow.
The first challenge to Biden's plan is led by a group of Republican-led states that won their case in the lower courts. They call the program an illegal abuse of power and a $430 billion giveaway without Congress's consent.
The Biden student loan forgiveness plan could cancel $10,000 in student loans for people earning less than $125,000 a year and a $20,000 if they were recipients of Pell Grants. Quinn in the Act poll says 53% of people in the U.S. approve Biden's plan, while 43% are against it. News brought to you by Thousands of newspapers around the country also joined in saying they stopped running the Office Humor comic series. The distributor says it's not censorship, it's business. We're going to check on traffic in ROTHSCHILD on the 210 right after this.
Want to sell your home? You call Seller's Advantage. Yeah, everybody has different reasons for selling. Some people want to downsize and move out. Some have inherited a property that they don't want. And other people say it's time for change. Whatever your reason for selling, Seller's Advantage. They have a custom solution for your needs. Custom. They'll make a competitive cash offer. There'll be no repairs needed. They can close in days. No complicated closing process. That can be annoying. Contracts will not fall through. Seller's Advantage has been making sellers happy for decades, and they have the reviews to prove it. Look today and find out more and get a no-obligation offer, too, at this number, 888-302-AS8. 302-AS8. That's 888-302-AS8 and sellersadvantage.com.
Seller's Advantage will buy your home, make it easy so that you don't have to worry. Self-happy with Seller's Advantage.
Sherry number 0961658. Southern California weather for KFI. Light rain continues today off and on for LA and OC. Highs are going to hit and probably already have hit the mid-50s. This blanket of clouds and light rain is going to continue overnight. Lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow again, partly cloudy skies. Less scattered light rain though. Highs in the mid-50s. Now, from the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, let's go places. And let's check on the 210 near Rochester Center. At the 210 Foothill Freeway, right at Laurel Avenue, a car broke down in the left-hand lane. That's causing a backup to the Sunland Boulevard, and then up ahead you're slow again on the East 210 from the 134 to Foothill Boulevard. Westbound side, you have delays through Pasadena between Rosemead Boulevard and the 134. Have some issues to talk about in Anaheim. Michael Bryan's checking it right now in KFI in the sky. And we will check in with Mike. This is a bit later. East outside of the 10, right at Uber, it's a stalled vehicle in the middle lane of the roadway. Not far from there on the East 10, right at the 110, the downtown slot, it's an accident in the right-hand lane. East 10, you're slow from Cloverfield to the East LA interchange. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Mike Morris.
This is Leland Smith here, founder of Series Champions Plumbing, Heating, and AC. If you're thinking about replacing your heating and cooling system, I have a serious question for you. Do you really even know what you need? There are so many companies out there offering different systems at all kinds of prices. How can you really know if what you're being sold is what you really need? Or if the price is right? How can you really know if what you're being sold is what you really need? Or if the price is right? We believe an educated customer is the best kind of customer. So give us a call, and we'll help you understand all the options that the iHeartRadio app. Yeah, we're on from 1 to 4, so if you miss a moment live, you can pick up the show on the podcast posted shortly after we go off the air at 4 o'clock. We take pride in chronicling every day the degradation of California society. Well, you'll get stories here you don't get anywhere else, and you'll get the truth here that you don't get anywhere else. This is the type of coverage our listeners have looked forward to over the years, and we continue to provide it, right, as a public service. And by don't, like some other outlets, tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what is really happening, and what you need to hear. And if you don't like it and you don't want to listen, that's fine. Then don't. But we do not pay you to hear. And if you don't like it and you don't want to listen, that's fine. Then don't. But we do not pay you. Nope. There are no panders over there. So we got this story from calmatters.org about the California state prison system. California spends more than $15 billion a year on its prison system. I bring that up first because that's what started all this years ago. We spend so much money on prison. Think about what all those incarcerated people could really be. They could be productive members of